What's up, everybody? It's your boy D Max. So, yeah, let's talk about this thing. So, over the years, man, I've had many discussions with many people, and there were a lot of things that have been covered over this time that people just weren't willing to accept. And that's information wise concerning things that would be taking place in our country until those things actually took place and they had no other choice but to accept it or either live in denial of that. And I find more often than not that people would rather live in denial than accept the truth, regardless of if it's right before their face. And one of those things in particular is a one world currency, which we're starting to see unfold right before our eyes through the whole crypto system. And the reason I say that is because now what we're seeing is that the government doesn't like the fact that cryptocurrency is decentralized, meaning that they have no control over it. And so now they're coming with what they would like to call the central bank digital currency. Now, if you know what the central bank or the Federal Reserve Bank is, this is a banking system that is placed in your country that loans you money up to the point to where now you're indebted to them and now they have say in your legal system, your political system, everything that has to do with your country basically. And so this system is now trying to get this central bank digital currency implemented so that they will be able to control the flow of currency. This is what they're trying to do to cancel out cryptocurrency so that they can have more control over that system and the money that is flowing through that system. The problem is the money that would be flowing through the centralized bank system would be fiat money, which is money that is not backed by anything of any value such as precious metals or fossil fuels or anything like that. Fiat money is just backed by the word of that government. And so, depending on how strong that government is, that is going to give you an idea of how strong that currency is going to be. So this is one more move or one more step in the direction of a one world order, the new world order. And this is a concept that people have been in denial about for the longest. But I'd like to remind everybody of something. For the longest, people were in denial about there being a global sex trafficking ring that had a whole lot of famous and socially important people involved until Jeffrey Epstein got busted, until Jeffrey Epstein died, and Ghislaine Maxwell got locked up, and then Jeffrey Epstein's associate mysteriously just died in Paris. Jean-Luc, whatever his last name is, Jean-Luc Deplier, or however you pronounce. I'm sorry if I didn't get it right, but whatever it is to prove my point that so many people say, "Oh, y'all crazy! Oh, y'all conspiracy theories! Oh, y'all with David Icke! Y'all just crazy!" Until you heard the name Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And now everybody is, oh, this is so disgusting. I can't believe it. Well, why can't you believe it when you've been told time and time again for at least the past 30 to 40 years? Why is it so hard to believe? I don't I do understand. People do not want to hear the truth. People do not want to accept truth. They would rather believe a lie because a lie is more convenient and a lie is more comfortable. Good morning, Marquina. How are you doing this morning, Queen? You said, Deacon, this is Satan's system. Do you think he will give up that rule? He would still keep his power on government to do his say. Just saying. Absolutely, 100%. I agree with you on that. And I'm just pointing out the fact that people will always resist what is true. They are so quick to attach themselves to a convenient lie than the inconvenient truth. And that's my problem with this world. because we will overlook what is really taking place just because it don't feel good, just because it don't look good. But then when we become subject to it, everybody wants to complain about it. When you had an opportunity to do something about it, but you chose to believe otherwise because it was inconvenient to believe the truth. And that's what I'm saying. So with this decentralized money now, this is going to bring about the one world currency that has been spoken about by so-called conspiracy theorists for the longest time. And I want to address that term, conspiracy theorists, because it seems like the more and more information that gets revealed, it's showing you that these so-called conspiracy theorists are not conspiracy theorists. But if you look up the definition of the word conspiracy, then that means a chain of events that are secretly taking place or secretly organized by people for a specific outcome. And so, what you really are looking at are truly conspiracies, but they've taken the word conspiracy out of context to try to dismiss or discredit somebody, when in actuality the word means the total opposite. So that just shows you how smart these people are. But like I said before, they'll do anything to keep that world of convenience going for themselves. They love to paint that picture of a false reality so that they'll feel good about themselves. But regardless of that, you're still going to be subjected to everything that's coming down the pipeline, whether you believe it or not. Because this is one of the most famous lines that I've heard from most people that I've had discussions with. Well, I don't believe that. Well, that's fine. You don't have to believe it, but just because you don't believe it don't mean that it's not the truth. And this is what I'm trying to get people to see. You can sit there and not believe all you want to. People didn't believe that the royal family was full of pedophiles, but now here you see the proof is in the pudding. Now you see Prince Andrew stripped of all his royal title. Now you see people in the House of Windsor coming out and speaking. Hey man, Charles was kind of on that side too. Him and Jimmy Savile used to run tight, and Jimmy Savile was one of the most prolific pedophiles in England. He was even knighted by the Queen, and none of his stuff came out till after he died. But now you're seeing everybody wanting to run to the other side. And you still have those hard headed people who are going to, well, I don't believe that. You're going to have to give me some proof. Well, I don't know what it's going to take for you to believe. Maybe you have to have somebody close enough to you to go through it actually for you to believe what's taking place. I don't know, but that's not my problem. My job is to present the information and give you an opportunity to choose whether you want to look into it and confirm it, or if you want to just turn your head the other way and deny it. Whatever choice you make, that is totally your choice. It does not hurt my feelings, but never can you say that you were not warned. Never can you say that nobody told me. Never can you say that nobody gave me that option. DMAC gives you that option. DMAC brings the information to you for you to decide whether you want to believe it or not. But that's on you. Once it leave my mouth and go out into the universe, that ain't on me no more. It's on you. And so, shout out to Joe Rogan. Yeah, shout out to Joe Rogan. I said it. Um, he had a guest on his show, and this is what the guest was talking about. And he gave an example of, say, if you're under this system of centralized digital currency and you go in the store and you want to buy a burger, and you go to purchase your burger, and it say, oh, you've met your limit for burgers for this month. You have to buy something vegan, and it will not let you purchase a burger. You will have to buy something vegan. That is the government in direct control of what you eat and how you purchase your food. Is that what you want? Is this what people want? Because this is where we're heading with the central bank digital currency. I told you, I told you, and so many other people have stated this, that the government is going to find a way to decentralize this currency, this cryptocurrency, so that they can have some control over it. No government is going to allow a form of currency to flow throughout the world without them getting their cut of it or them having some type of control over the flow of that currency. And what is it all backed by? What is cryptocurrency backed by? See, this is the thing. This is the real issue because the value of money is nothing. I've discussed this before when I was talking about the stimulus payments and the reason that those stimulus payments were going to hurt more than they help because they were going to cause inflation because that stimulus money was fiat money. It wasn't backed by anything of value, no precious metals, no fossil fuels. The only thing that that money was backed by was the power and the strength of our government. And for a lot of people in the United States, within the United States, we've been fooled to believe that our government is a lot more powerful and influential on the world scale than they truly are. Yeah, it's a big bluff. We are not as feared and revered and respected as our government paints a picture of. And so our money does not carry as much weight around the world as you would think. I would like a lot of you to travel outside of the United States and see how much our currency is really worth in other countries, because the government will sit here and tell you all kind of lies. And here's a prime example of government telling lies. My nephew just left the Ukraine a few days ago. He plays basketball in the Ukraine, and he just barely got out the other day by the skin of their teeth. And he, in all rights, did not know how serious the situation between Russia and Ukraine were. He did not know that there were tanks lined up at the border of Ukraine ready to start going off. Why didn't he know this? Well, because they have control over the media in the Ukraine. When I say they, I mean the Ukrainian government, so forth and so on. So now they've painted this picture like, oh, well, we have some tensions with Russia, but they never let those people know how dire a situation it was until they just no longer could hold that lie. And so they put my nephew, not only my nephew, but any other American that was in the Ukraine, as well as the Ukrainian people, in danger to maintain a lie about what was taking place between Ukraine and Russia. These are the type of people that we're dealing with. So if they're not going to let you know that they're under attack, that there's about to be a war, what makes you think that they would let you know anything about anything else? And it's not just Ukraine's government that's this dishonest. Every government is this dishonest. The United States is very, very dishonest towards us as the people. And if you don't do your own research, then you will take America's story and America's image of America hook, line, and sinker. No problem, which many have done. And that's why they have such a hard time believing the truths that are now coming out that America cannot hide anymore. So you can continue to walk in ignorance, but I'm gonna tell you like this: Yahweh does not, He does not overlook willing ignorance. Now, if you're ignorant just because you just don't know, then God will give you some grace and mercy in that. But if you're ignorant because you don't want to know and you're willing to turn a blind eye just so that you can keep some level of comfort, Yahweh does not honor that. He will never honor that. And so you will always be lost in the sauce, period, point blank. Now, looking at these currencies, I could care less because I grew up, I come from an era where I know how to plant food. I know how to go fishing at the creek. I know how to go hunting out in the wild. I know how to skin a deer. I know how to skin a rabbit or a squirrel or whatever need be. And people see this as, oh, you just doing the most. That's just extreme. It's extreme until you need it. It's extreme until you need it. People were saying that people were saying that, oh, it's extreme to have a doomsday kit. But now you see a lot more people stockpiling their food. You see a lot more people stockpiling weapons. We're not crazy anymore. We're not conspiracy theorists anymore. We're not those Looney Tune dudes out here just talking out of the side of our head anymore. Now people are starting to listen because everything that y'all consider conspiracy theories are being proven and revealed in these last days. And the only people who are looking stupid in this concept are the ones who are still in denial because you believe the United States and you want to be still living in that fairy tale world and that false reality that you created for yourself. That's fine and well for you, but please, I ask of you, when the shit hits the fan, stay right where you are and let your government take care of you. Let your government protect you because that's what it's going to come down to. They're going to strip away every right that you ever even thought you had. Good morning. Good morning. How you doing, Marilyn Music? Glad to see you. They are going to strip away every right that you even thought you had. And they're going to run your life. I call it the Hunger Games because that's exactly what it's going to look like. We're going to be in zones and districts, and the government is going to play games with your life. They're already playing games with our life as it is. Oh, you don't think so? There have been so many red flag events, and I'll just say two that most people are familiar with and that they always fight against. The first red flag event was Pearl Harbor. Yeah, Pearl Harbor was a red flag event. The United States knew that Pearl Harbor was going to happen, but in order for them to get the United States citizens behind them and going to war with Japan, they had to allow it to happen. A large enough catastrophe so that the American people would be angered enough to back the government on going over there and doing what they ultimately did. And that was the biggest explosion in American, well, not in American history, but in history. Hiroshima. And also the next one, and this is one that's still more controversial because it's still kind of new and it's still got a little bit of salt in this wound, but nonetheless, 9/11. Yes, 9/11, when the planes hit the towers and so forth and so on. And yeah, that was an absolute red flag event. Yes, yes, it was to get us into Iraq because this was the thing. First, they came out and they said that, well, there's weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and they won't let us come in and inspect, and they're hiding uranium, and they got the yellow cake, and we just know it's there. But what nobody was buying it because you had no proof, you had no solid evidence of this, and so they had to generate an event that would get the American people behind them invading Iraq. And do you want to know why they really invaded Iraq? They invaded Iraq for the same reason that they killed Muammar Gaddafi. And that was because Muammar Gaddafi started to accept currency outside of US currency for oil. This is why Muammar Gaddafi died. This is why Saddam Hussein died. Because Saddam Hussein was one of the most staunch fighters against terrorism in the Middle East. He was one of the biggest, even though he was a dictator himself who committed genocide against his own people. He was still a staunch fighter against terrorists coming from those other countries. So the Al Qaeda's and the ISIS and all of those guys, Saddam Hussein hated them. But one thing Saddam hated worse was the United States and the control that the United States had in each country. You said Colin Powell is answering for that as we speak. You're absolutely right. And it's amazing to me how all of these things, after 25 years, they are allowed to release these documents. And so that's prime example of that. Everything that happened to Dr. Martin Luther King that we were suspecting, after 25 years, those documents came out and their family got that documentation and they were able to sue the FBI or the CIA for their involvement in the death of Martin Luther King, and the King family won because those documents were released after 25 years of his death. And so this is no different. 25 years after 9/11, now you have these 9/11 reports come out and they're controlled by whatever entity to give you a narrative that is not the true narrative. They don't ever want you to understand and really get into what the true narrative of. But I say all of this to say that you can continue to believe what the United States is feeding you if you want to. That's on you. I mean, I really personally don't care. Um, but I just don't want these people to act like they were never told, like that thought never came across their mind, or that thought was never presented to them, because they would be an absolute lie, because there's been people screaming this from the mountaintops for the longest. You just choose not to hear it because it does not fit in your comfy little world that you created for yourself, and that's okay. That's fine and well. But for us who seek truth, and for us who's not going to accept just whatever bullcrap story that the government wants to give us, don't be out here criticizing us and calling us this and that, because you always end up looking stupid in the end of the scenarios. And I'm not going to see every single time, because there are some conspiracies out there that are far fetched. But I would say that about 85% of them are based in more than 50% truth. And so anything over 1% truth is scary, because you look at the events that we're discussing. This is global slavery through economics. This is global control through economics. How scary is that? Scary enough for people to not want to talk about it. Scary enough for people to go into denial because their mind just can't fathom something that horrific taking place. People have done it for thousands of years. Well, I'll say since the beginning of time, people have always denied the reality because it was just too hard for them to bear. But there are some of us who have been built to handle that pressure. There are some of us who have minds that are not limited by societal boundaries, and we can think outside of your box, and we can have some reasoning and some cognitive thinking, and we can come to these conclusions without losing our mind, or without, breaking mentally. If you don't have that mental capacity, then go ahead and protect yourself by any means. But I'll say this: don't sit here and try to argue against or debate against people who do have the mind capacity to think outside of that comfort zone. That's all I really want to say about this. I would suggest that you study into it some more, because we are slowly but surely moving closer and closer to a one world currency, a one world belief system or religious system, and so much more. But this is the new world order that George Bush Sr. spoke about. This is the new world order that George Bush Jr. spoke about, that Clinton spoke about, Obama spoke about it. Many other world leaders all the way across the board spoke about this new world order. So I would suggest that you take out the time to look up the new world order and see what all it encompasses. And you will find out that a lot of things that it encompasses, we are experiencing and going through it right now. That's your due diligence, is to find out and confirm those things, because like I said, I don't ever want anybody to just take my word for it. Go and study it for yourself to see that I have done my due diligence in studying more than just one resource, so that I can confirm that there's a general consistency of this idea. And so I ask that you do that for yourself. But because I'm not going to be wasting my breath trying to argue with somebody and trying to convince them of something, because it's easier for you to lie to a person than it is to convince them that they've been lied to. And so my time of doing that is over with. I ain't got no argument for you. If you want to believe a lie, that's on you. Just keep that lie to yourself. This is your boy D Mac, man. Y'all know what I say. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.